You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
And we're live, and we're just about coming to the end of the games before we go into the bottom six, top six, and it's going to be very exciting till the end of the season. Joined tonight by Graham Duffy, a big Hearts fan, looking forward to the weekend and looking forward to tomorrow. I've not saw you for ages. How you doing, Graham?
Not bad. It's been very busy at work and obviously not been as many Hearts games as I'd like to do this season, but I am there tomorrow, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, as I say to anyone, if you see Graham at the game, go up and buy him a pie or maybe custard pie him or whatever, I don't know. No, don't do that actually. I wouldn't waste my custard pie. There you go. So we'll be on tonight and we'll be looking at all the games. Also, we got an interview with the CEO of Ross County, Stephen Ferguson. I spoke to him yesterday about the game tonight against Queen's Park and the season so far. That's coming up later on as well, and get your comments coming in as usual. Okay, so first up tonight we'll be talking about the Jambos in action tomorrow at Tynecastle. They are taking on Motherwell, and Graham's going along to this game. You've not beat Motherwell this season yet, but it's a must-win game tomorrow for Hearts, Graham.
Yeah, I think every game for the last few weeks has been a must-win game, but I think more so tomorrow. Our home form's actually pretty good. We've not lost at home this season, but we've had 5 away defeats. We've had 2 draws to Motherwell this season, including that 3-3 draw early in the season, which was still, for me, one of the best games of the season. Fantastic game. Motherwell have dropped off slightly, but they're still going to be dangerous. They'll play a high-press game. You know, they've still got a bit to play for in terms of European football. They'll be dangerous. But it's what we do tomorrow. We have to react after that game last week. I was frustrated after the Livingston game because it's a game I think we should have won. Plenty of chances, didn't take them. But in the last half hour after Livingston equalised, we just didn't create enough. We did nothing going forward. And I was very frustrated after that. And I kind of said before that if you can't beat the team bottom of the league, you don't win a league title. Hopefully that's not going to be the case. But we have to find a way to react tomorrow. But it's going to be such a tough game. I mean, I've said it before. I'm really impressed by the job Askew's done at Motherwell. They've got some very good footballers in their team. But it's a game that Hearts have got to win. If we can win, and assuming that Celtic beat St Mirren at home, which I think they will, we go 3 points ahead of Celtic and 4 ahead of Rangers before Rangers play on Sunday. So it's a big, big opportunity for Hearts here. And like I said, our home form's good. We're unbeaten at home. And that needs to continue tomorrow.
It's actually a bit funny when you think about it, Graham, right? Because obviously, and you probably heard me talking about this for ages on the show, like the word in the street was like Shankland out the team, Baningame out the team, and Deflin out the team, and everybody thought, big panic how his Heart got the coat, but they actually coped very well. But it was ironic that they were back in the team last week and they got points.
Yeah, there's no doubt that when you lose guys like Shankland, who's still our best striker, there's no debate about that, as much as Braga's been excellent, and Devlin, who I think up until the point he got injured was the best midfielder in Scotland for me, losing those two was huge. And I heard a lot of folk as well say after that Falkirk game when we got beat in the Cup, that's it now. Without those two, that'll be it. And we are actually still top. But it wasn't... They were both actually decent last week. You know, Shankland gets his goal, makes a goal for Braga. Devlin's his all-round normal self, but it was defensively that we were lapsing last week. The 2 goals we lost were so poor and very uncharacteristic for us. But having them back, I generally think is going to be huge for the last 6 games. There was a moment actually in the first half, and I heard a few folk talking about it and saying, is the pressure getting to Hearts? In the first half, Claudio Braga had an effort that he put into the side net and he should pull it back. Devlin was raging at him. And it's the first time I've actually seen that, where somebody's actually raging with each other. And at that point, you do think, actually, is the pressure getting to Hearts? because we don't have anyone that's won a league title in our squad apart from Craig Gordon, but he's not fit. So the maybe is that kind of feeling a bit of pressure now, but it was a game last week Hearts should have won on chances. We had plenty, didn't take them, and as soon as Livingston scored, we created nothing. The last half hour, I genuinely thought when Livingston equalised to make it 2-2, I thought still half an hour, we'll be fine, we'll get it over the line. But we just didn't do anything that last half hour. We're so poor. And that's kind of where my frustration is from last week, that last half hour. We should have won that game and we just didn't do enough to do it.
And that's a bit ironic as well, Graham, because if you look at the two games that you've actually lost at Kilmarnock and pick up a point in Livingston, they were both in Plastic Park as well.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest disappointment as well is the fact that we've only taken 1 point from 12 from our last 4 away games. And 3 of those were against Kilmarnock, who are second bottom, Livingston at the bottom, St Mirren, third bottom. And we've not taken enough points off either of those 3 teams. That could be what ends up losing us the league, is not beating the teams at the bottom of the league. Whereas actually, if you flip it the other way, our record against the top 6 teams is actually pretty good. We've only lost 2 games this season to Hibs and Rangers. So we've got a really good record against the top 6 teams and not the best against the bottom teams, which is really weird how that's working out. And I really hope that a record against the top 6 teams going at this last 6 games is actually going to help us going and winning that title. Hopefully. That's the aim anyway.
All right, lads.
There we go. Reagan's on tonight. I didn't expect Mr. Stevenson to be here because I thought you were off to the Spiders game.
Yeah, I'm off to the Spiders. I'm not scared of spiders, but I'll be off there soon. So I just thought I'd pop on for about 10 minutes, mate. Michael.
All right, there you go. No, we're just talking about the game tomorrow, Regan. Hearts and Murrow as well. What do you think of this game?
I think it'll be a very close game. I think Motherwell will probably have them the majority of the ball, but I think ultimately Hearts the top end of the pitch with Braga and Shankland, they'll score goals for me. I think Motherwell will dominate the ball, but I think ultimately Hearts will be far too strong, and I think they'll win the game.
I mean, see, going back to Hearts for a minute, Graham, right? What do you think it is like? Because it's been flying through games as well, and just the last few months, the wheels has basically came off a wee bit. Why do you think that is good? I know you were talking about pressure early on.
I don't know. I mean, we had a decent lead over Rangers and Celtic at one point in the season, and obviously they've both clawed that back. Whether it is pressure, I don't know. I mean, you listen to Derek McInnes and the players, they're not feeling the pressure. I certainly know that a lot of the Hearts fan base are feeling the pressure. And I just think I don't know if there's a complacency against teams at the bottom of the league, like last week. When we go 2-1 up against the team bottom of the league, you think, right, we'll go win this game 3 or 4, and we don't do it. Whether that's the case, I don't know. But I just think that tomorrow is such a big game. We need to win that game. And I said this kind of on my own TikTok page as well. I do actually think, for some reason, we're actually a better team without the ball. As bizarre as that sounds. See, when other teams have got possession, we're actually better. We don't tend to do well when we have to dominate a game. We don't really do enough with it, with the ball. I actually think against these teams that we're playing now, they'll have more on the ball, and that actually suits us. As bizarre as that sounds to say, we're a better team without the ball than we're with it.
Were you surprised that Derek McInnes was playing down the fixture list when they were asking him about Celtic in the last game of the season? That's why I said to you, Graham, it's Hearts playing Celtic in the car park.
Nah, I quite like that. I mean, I've heard a lot of stuff, people talking about the last game of the season and stuff, and I understand that. Of course, I would have liked the last game of the season to be at Tynecastle. That would have been great, but I don't know how they would have worked it out, because we knew we had to have 3 away games and 2 at home. So the only way they could have done it is by having Hearts having 3 straight away games, which again is an imbalance. So they had to work it out the way they did it. And I also think as well, a lot of talk about the fact that, 14 or 15 out of the last 16 seasons, the team going out the split is at home. The difference this time is it's a three-way title fight. Usually it's the Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah.
This time we're doing it as well. So it's they're always going to be anomalies. And I generally think that, again, there's a lot of conspiracy theory as well, I've heard. That
There's a lot of Hearts fans as well, Graham.
well, again, it's a big if. But if Celtic are at the title race, I've heard folks say that going to Celtic Park for Hearts might be the best fixture because Celtic will lie down. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, because surely it's professional pride. But you just have to play the fixtures that you're dealt with. The only frustration that I've got, and I said to before I came on air, is that Rangers game at Tynecastle was a bank holiday at 5:30. And a lot of folk that I know don't get that off. I know I don't. So that's the only thing that I'm disappointed at, is that Rangers game's a 5:30 kick on a Monday night. That's not suitable for a lot of folk.
I hopefully your boss is not watching, Graham, and you can see your no well that day.
He is his boss. Graham, I just want to ask you a massive question here, right? Because obviously it's before the end of the season as well. But see, if Hearts don't win the league, right? Obviously you'll be disappointed, right? But would you still put Derek McInnes in there as for manager of the year?
100%. Of course it should be. We are punching above our weight. We should not be in a title race. When Tony Bloom came in, he said, very start of the season, and folk laughed at him, Hearts can challenge for a title in the next 10 years. We're only 1 year into that, and we're already challenging. And I do believe, I genuinely think this, no matter what happens this season, apart from the cup games, that's not been great. But we've had a fantastic season. We have been outstanding this season. Nobody expected this. I think if you'd offered that any Hearts fan start the season with 6 games to go, you'll be top of the league with a chance to win the title, I'd have snapped a hand off for that. Whatever happens, happens. But I'm genuinely excited about what we could do going forward. We've already brought players in for next season. We've still got players to come back from injury this season that will hopefully be there next season. I think it's exciting times for Hearts. So I genuinely think Derek McInnes absolutely has to be in there for manager of the season, even if we don't win it. He's done a fantastic job.
I don't know about you, Graham, right? But see, when you watch games of football and the sub comes on only for about 5 seconds and he goes again, I've never saw that happening before. But only on the Scottish Football Zone, you could say that because Reagan's disappeared now. Maybe he's scared in case Hearts are going to win the league at Parkhead as well. But no, I mean, it's been an excellent season. Like, it's been very open. I'm sure, like, if you ask any kind of like Celtic or Rangers fans, right, of course they would want to win the league by Easter by 19 points or whatever, right? But I actually quite enjoy this because it's actually kind of like quite tight and everyone's talking about it. So it's only a good thing for the game in Scotland, because for years people have been talking about, Mickey Mouse League, it's only Celtic and Rangers or Rangers and Celtic to win the league. But obviously this season, you know, Hearts is in the mix and Motherwell was in the mix up to a few months ago. And to be honest with you, a lot of people was playing it down at Fir Park, but I bet you if you ask any of the Motherwell players, they were like that. Yeah, we're in the title race.
They were for quite a while. And they were playing some of the best football I've seen for a long, long time from anyone outside Celtic and Rangers. Yeah. It's just the last few weeks they've fallen off a little bit. But they were. Make no mistake, they were well in that title race until probably about a month ago. I think they maybe, was it a game at Dens Park they lost and they've not won since. But they were absolutely in it. And we all said previously that they will have a big say in who wins this title, because we've got to play them twice, tomorrow and after the break. Celtic have got to play them, Rangers have got to play them. But then again, you also look at the fact we've all got to play each other again. We've got to play Falkirk, which is not easy. We've got to play Hibs, which isn't easy. So every game's difficult. But Motherwell have had such a great season. And it's a shame that they're probably going to end the season with nothing, because they have been outstanding this season. But fair play to them. And again, I think they'll only get better as well. The thing I would say about this season as well, I don't think I've ever heard so many folk outside of Scotland talking about Scottish football. The amount of English folk that I've heard talking about Scottish football, that goes to show how good this season's been. Because when would that have ever happened? Very rarely.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, great. Motherwell, they went up to Giants Park. I'm sure it was a game in hand they had, and they get beat 2-1 or something. And then I think they went to Celtic Park, and Celtic beat them as well. Again, a last minute goal from Celtic, but Celtic's not been playing well of late. Maybe you could argue that last week against Dundee in the first half was the best 45 minutes that the Celtic fans have saw for a wee while. But if you look at McInnes's quotes yesterday, Graham, he was expecting the fixtures as well, but he was also saying it's up to us. We're looking forward to the game, but we have a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, we just have to focus on ourselves. We can't focus on anything else, or even any outside noise. We have to focus on ourselves. And that means focus on tomorrow. That's got to be the main focus, 100% tomorrow. If we can win tomorrow, and as I say, as soon as Celtic win, it then puts the pressure on Rangers, and they've got a 2-week break because of the Scottish Cup next week, which we're not in, of course. So it gives us a good opportunity to kind of prepare for that Hibs game. And I know that I think after tomorrow, I think we're away to Spain for a few days to obviously rest up and get prepared for the last 5 games. So it's all about Hearts. If we keep winning, which I know we haven't done recently, but if we keep winning, you win the league. All we can do is focus on ourselves. I've heard a lot of folk talking, like Hearts fans especially, about, where might Rangers and Celtic drop points, blah, blah, blah. We just have to concentrate on us. We need to keep picking up as many points as we can pick up. And I think the home games are massive. Out of the 6 games we've got 3 home and 3 away. I think we need to be taking 9 points out of the home games. And then any points we get away from home is an added bonus. But tomorrow is a huge, huge game. Win that, and then focus on Hibs in 2 weeks' time.
It'd be funny if Hearts play Rangers in Spain as well, because Rangers are apparently going over to Spain on Sunday after the game against Falkirk. So it would be funny if they get a wee bounce game before that actual real game in a few weeks' time. The conspiracy theories will be out there somewhere talking about that. And let's move on to Motherwell. I mean, what a season. I mean, you could actually say that about a lot of the teams in the league. But Motherwell is you were saying, punching above the weight. I think Motherwell's big punching above the weight, because I think as you put Hearts and Motherwell, Hearts has just got a bit more financial backing there.
Yeah, I mean, for Bertolacki to come in, a relative unknown to a team like Motherwell, not just to Motherwell, but to play the kind of football that he's done, playing that kind of expansive, high-press football, playing out for the back with guys like Stephen O'Donnell. And that's not disrespect to Stephen O'Donnell, but to have guys like that playing the way that he has, I think it's been incredible. Like, there's so many games this season I've looked back at Motherwell and thought, wow, that is incredible football to watch. And I think most teams would love to play that way. That game against Celtic at Fir Park, Celtic were outstanding that day. Motherwell were outstanding that day, the football they played. As I say, they have dropped off a little bit, but you look at guys like Elijah Just, Elliot Watt, fantastic. Ash Vinicius, top scorer in the league. They have been outstanding. And there'll be quite a few players in that team that'll be up there for Player of the Year, as well as some Hearts players as well. So fair play to Berthiaulassi. He's done an amazing job. And I think Motherwell fans, even though they have dropped off a little bit, Motherwell fans must be ecstatic about the way they played this season. Because it has been, as I said, some of the best football I've seen outside of Celtic and Rangers for a number of years.
I think if people's commenting, you can maybe say I'm wrong, because I'm always wrong every day. Graham used to say that every week. And I think you've got a point there, Graham. But I think this could be the first year that a non-Celtic or Rangers player would get in the running for the Player of the Year or the Manager of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of Celtic, the only player that probably would get in it is Nygren, because he has got, 15 goals, I think, in the league. Yeah. Probably the only one. And obviously, you look at Celtic and their managerial reigns, it's been an absolute disaster, to be honest. I mean, I still wish Will Fernandez was in charge, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, I think for me personally, the Player of the Year or the Manager of the Year has to come from either Hearts or Motherwell. It just has to. But whether it does, I don't know. And obviously, Falkirk should be out there as well for the job that John McGlynn's done. He's been outstanding. And again, I think they'll have a big say in this title race as well. So there is definitely a few players and managers that should be in with a chance of managing Player of the Year with the season that it's been.
Graham's only seen John McGlynn because he saw Alan coming online. He wasn't going to say, by the way, John McGlynn as well. But yeah. So, Alan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, guys. Just let me know how the audio quality is. But yeah, no, I'm very well. I don't think he was going to say John McGlynn. I think he was keeping that to himself. But I think there's still a very good opportunity that we'll finish both potentially within European places and potentially with a trophy. So I don't think you can rule out John McGlynn.
So, talk about the game tomorrow, Alan, before we get on to the Falkirk Rangers game, and I presume that you're going to that game. But I mean, what do you think of Motherwell this season?
I mean, I could play Motherwell every week. I think Motherwell are obviously the game against us last weekend and every game this season against them has been really entertaining. Motherwell were kind of undone with how open the game was. Maybe a couple of penalty decisions went either way, but in terms of the style of football, and I think it was very unfair for Steve Clarke to kind of point out that they were not as good individually as they were as a team. I think that's really harsh, both on Hearts and Motherwell. I think fantastic players who might well go in the summer, but I think Jens has definitely improved them all, and the style of football he's got them playing consistently across the season, and it's just really impressive. You think back to like the 3-3 Hearts game at the start of the campaign. Like starting the campaign, I think it was 4 draws, and maybe even in the round robin stages or the group stage of the cup, it was taking a little time to bed in. They've stuck with them. They've got through that. They've gone on a brilliant run, and I think like performances, they played well against us, played well against Celtic. I don't think the performances have really been lost. It's just a bit of luck at this stage of the season. So if they can hold on to him and hold on to the key players, Motherwell will progress next season. But really, really impressive. Really impressive.
Alan looks like he's reporting from like Syria or something in the background.
Yeah,
it's straight to Hormuz. That's what I am.
Yeah, I think he's trying to fight back the sun there, and as well, making it to be Scotland to be the hottest capital of the world, but I don't see it as well. But yeah, what do you think your score prediction will be for this one? I'll go to Graham Rask because, well, you know why I'm going to him Rask. Going to have to be a rocket scientist because I was on the moon this week. Alan, how about you?
Oh, it's a really tough one. I mean, given everything the way it's all going, you would think 1-0 Hearts, but it's really difficult. I think it depends how clinical Motherwell are, and how many chances they kind of. You guys will know better than I will. Graham, is he expecting Finlay back this week?
Yeah, he's trained the last 2 weeks, so he should be back alongside Craig Halkett at the back.
So I mean, you bring Finlay in, you'll almost get a sense of relief amongst the full Hearts squad, given that centre partnership back, and that might be enough to kind of thwart Motherwell. But you look at them, the 4 games, I think without a win, they'll be absolutely. They know they can score goals at Tynecastle, so they'll be desperate to kind of get into that kind of run, and kind of get the gap between them and Hibs back up. But if the defence works as it should do, and Shankland's obviously looking all right, I think it could be 1-0 again.
There you go. Returning a favour, Graham, because I was wondering what he was going to say there, because you thought John McGlynn was going to be the manager of the year, and someone used to say, "Play nice, boys," and that's what we're
He's
doing
won
tonight.
it before. He's got enough. He's won it before. He's got more than enough trophies. Doesn't need another one.
Oh, well, it's not the season of goodwill there, so I'll take that back. 2-1 to Hearts, I'll say tomorrow, Graham. It's going to be a very tight game, but I'm sure you'll take 2-1 or any score. Graham, what about you? I feel as though this is a waste of time coming to you about this game, but that's what it says. I've got to go to Graham. So, yeah, Graham.
I would love nothing more than a comfortable Hearts win. A 6-0 win would be nice, but I think there'll be goals. I don't see Motherwell not scoring. So I'm going to go for a high-scoring game. I'm going to go Hearts 3, Motherwell 2.
Oof. There you go. There you go. And then along the M8, we've got the dress rehearsal for the semi-final next week. But this time it's taking place at Celtic Park between Celtic and St Mirren, Alan. This is going to be an interesting game because Celtic's not been playing well. But, I mean, I felt as though that last week, I don't know if you saw any of the Dundee game in the first half, but that was best Celtic's played for a wee while this season. And then obviously Celtic kind of like grinded out the result at the end of the day. But I mean, St Mirren's fighting at the bottom of the league as well to stay up, and I think they'll be okay, guys, this season.
Yeah, I think St Mirren will be all right. That change up from just getting McLeish a chance to freshen up the squad. I think Robinson had kind of, given how poorly they were playing, quite rightly, he was fairly critical of some of these players, but obviously players are people and a lot of them would have taken that to heart. So a few of them might have been quite happy to see him move on, despite having the cup win. But McLeish has definitely got them playing good football. They were really kind of robust against us at the Falkirk Stadium. I didn't anticipate them to kind of have as much punch, and players like Freckle and stuff look really good. And like Gogic, etc. They're always going to be tough to break down, but you've got these players playing with a bit of fire in their belly. But what I would say, I just think while they're going to be absolutely safe, I think they're better than Aberdeen. They're better than Kilmarnock. I just think at Celtic, I don't think there's enough there. But obviously they've won the cup against Celtic. That'll be a big sort of mental factor. And now that they have to get up for a semi-final, you expect them to kind of put in quite a shift to prove that it's not going to be a rollover. But I think, I don't know, I can't see, there's too much riding on it, and Celtic need, if anything, to win the home games.
Graham?
Yeah, I thought Celtic were decent against Dundee last week, given the fact that's their first win in Tayside this season, which sounds mental to say. I thought they were decent in spells last week. I think it's a game they had to win. With us dropping points and Rangers winning, they had to win last week, and they did. But I think the home form is going to be really important. And I think 4 of the 6 games Celtic have got at home, that could be crucial. But the thing is, they are playing a St Mirren side has got something to play for. St Mirren will go there. I was impressed with St Mirren against Aberdeen, although Aberdeen are brutal. But I thought they played some decent stuff under McLeish last week. And they'll have a threat going forward. You know, Celtic will have most of the ball, as you'd expect. But they can cause Celtic problems. They definitely can. They've done it previously. So it's a big game for Celtic tomorrow. But I do think at home, with that win last week, when knowing that obviously Rangers play on the Sunday, I do think Celtic will probably just have enough to win it. And I think, again, the big thing for me for Celtic will be, how fit is Ian Atchell? He came off the bench last week, got the goal. If he's ready to start, I think he has to come in, because I don't think Chance Vara's particularly great. I don't rate Adamu. I think he looks really poor. So for me, Celtic have got to keep Ian Atchell fit if they've got any chance to win this title. But it'll be difficult, because St Mirren have got something to play for, so they'll make it tough. And I think the first goal, if Celtic get an early goal, maybe they go win it comfortably. But the longer that game goes at 0-0, we know it from Hearts, we know it from Rangers. The longer that game goes at 0-0, that crowd's going to start to turn. Even with the Green Brigade back, that crowd will turn.
And it'll be an old-fashioned kind of league game tomorrow on, because obviously Hearts are playing at the same time as Celtic. The regulars will be on, so the supporters will tell each other or tell the team who's winning before they get into that dressing room at 10-5.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, as you say, everyone will have an idea exactly what's expected. I still think them in the game of the weekend in terms of Rangers playing at Falkirk. That's going to be the game that everybody will want to put pressure on, because the Rangers have obviously slipped up there already. So I think Celtic fans, or Celtic as a club, going into that game, and the players going into that game knowing what the result is early in the day, knowing that Rangers are still to play Falkirk. It's funny because we talk about it and say that it shouldn't matter, and over the years you've wondered whether the pressure actually does tell. But over the last few weeks, whoever plays last has generally struggled, and it can only be down to that kind of pressure. So, yeah, I think they'll know what to do. As you say, if it's 0-0 for a period, definitely. And I think that's the thing with Celtic; they've not been running away with any games. But if you can bring Iheanacho off the bench, and some of the other players they brought off the bench, I think you look at the strength and depth of that squad, and if they need to change it up, they change it up. But you've got other players there. You can always kind of. I think Yang's got a couple over the last few games. The likes of Maeda, as much as he's off form this season, these guys will create, and against St Mirren, they're going to get tons of chances.
How timing is the good timing? Well, as I say, good time for the Green Brigade to come back in, but good time for Robbie to come on as well, because he must have heard us speaking about the Celtic and is it playing tomorrow again? Oh yes, St Mirren tomorrow at Celtic Park. But how ironic is it with so many games to go, Graham, and they're letting the Green Brigade back in?
Yeah, I think that was going to happen at some point, to be honest. I think the Celtic fans were desperate for the Green Brigade to come back in. But then again, it just means more Celtic fans to shout at the board if things aren't going well. So it could work against them as well. But no, I think there's been so much disharmony at Celtic. There's been so much said about the Celtic board and stuff, and Celtic fans raging. It is maybe a bit of a boost on them to have the Green Brigade back. But like I said earlier, the longer that game goes tomorrow at 0-0, the longer St Mirren can keep it tight. Although, listen, Rob will know more than me about the way that Craig McLeish is going to set St Mirren up. They can frustrate Celtic, and they've got players that can cause Celtic problems. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion tomorrow. I think it will be difficult. But yeah, having the Green Brigade back, I think will give Celtic a bit of a boost.
And I'll give the Scottish Football Zone a boost as well, because Robbie's back. Did you see that? Robbie, how are you? And are you looking forward to the game tomorrow?
I'm very much so. I'm looking forward to the next 2 weekends, Michael. It's a big 2 weekends in our season, but Celtic's as well. 100 years on for the first time someone won the Scottish Cup in their history, defeating Celtic 2-0 at Hampden. So it'd be nice to try and make some more history next week. But we've got a league to focus on, and you're right, obviously the big news going into this game is the Green Brigade are back for Celtic, which is of course a massive boost for Celtic for the whole season and the remainder of it. But I don't know, I'm feeling a bit optimistic about tomorrow, to be honest with you. I think Craig McLeish has got us playing some brilliant stuff. I'm not claiming we're going to go to Celtic Park, and have 73% possession and creating chance after chance and really dominating Celtic, but we've got that belief now that we didn't have under Robinson for the last couple of months. And again, I keep coming on the show, it's never going to be a slate to Robinson because I love what he's done for us the last 4 years, but it's something fresh that we've not seen before. The players have really bought into what Craig McLeish is selling to them. You're seeing a lot of club legends come back. It's a real feel-good factor in the club right now. And we need to go to Celtic Park looking to cause an upset. Celtic and Rangers are now unbeatable this season. There's been multiple results. You look at Hibs going to Celtic Park, picking up a 2-1 win. Hibs looked pretty good on that day. So, it's about teams trying to go there and replicating that. Of course, the Green Brigade being back is going to play a difference in the game. That's without saying. They're going to be up for it. They're going to be creating an atmosphere that Celtic Park's probably not seen in a few months. So, of course, that'll give Celtic a wee boost, but I definitely don't think it's going to be a demolition job by Celtic. I think some are not going to go up there and hopefully give ourselves a pretty good chance of getting something out of the game.
Robbie, it's only been a couple of weeks, but what is, in that short time, what is it that Craig McLeish has actually tweaked? Because I know that Aberdeen are really poor, we all know that. But I actually thought St Mirren played some really good stuff last week.
That's it, Graham. We're not going direct anyway. You look at the way we played and the way Aberdeen played under Robinson. it's very much like you'd see under us. It's gone direct up to Mandron Nayunga. It's trying to hold the play down between they two, and try to get it forward quickly. Whereas McLeish is telling them, look, go and show what you've got. The wee one-touch passes, I'm sure you've seen that quite a lot, Graham, this season with Hearts, and Al, I'm sure you've seen that with Falkirk as well. Falkirk have played some brilliant stuff at times. It's just having that control of the ball that you're no. I don't like to use the term hoofing it, but you're not playing that direct where you're playing it up the park and getting it the goalkeeper every 2 minutes. You're keeping control of the ball. You're utilising your midfield very well. And I think the big thing is he's somehow improved set pieces, whereas I think we lost 3 set piece coaches when Robinson left. Yet we seem to have gotten better at set pieces under McLeish, which I don't quite know how that's worked out, but we definitely see much more of a threat. So I think it's just he's tweaked the things to make the players more expressive and sort of utilise their strengths, but also let them be creatively freedom. Let them go up the pitch and play the way they want to play. And I think the players have bought into that, and we look phenomenal to watch at times. I mean, as I said, I'm not expecting us to go to Celtic and have 73% possession by any means, but we're definitely going to try and be attacking against them and have no fear against them, because that's what you're going to try and do to get a result.
I would say that one thing that's quite interesting is, as you say, I've seen them at Falkirk under both Robinson and McLeish. And under McLeish, obviously that's ultimately what cost you that first goal, was try to play it out for the back, a slack pass, we nip in, Barney scores. And you could have easily just gone back into your shell and gone, right, actually that's not working, we'll just fire it up to the forward line, but you didn't. You just kept on trying to play, and I think that was the thing that was quite impressive. And I think you need a bit of, like, you look at Motherwell, that all season they've made mistakes. I mean, they made a mistake in the game against us. There was one against Celtic. I'm sure there's many more that you could point out, that playing it for the back is going to come with its risks. But what you're seeing is for Falkirk, for Motherwell, and again, you can show it with St Mirren. If you don't fear Celtic and Rangers and Hearts, and you turn up and just try and play football and build it out, you'll come undone a wee bit now and again. But if you can just stick to it, keep playing, you'll create chances. They'll not really be super comfortable, because you might not have 75% possession, but you'll damn sure have more than the 20% or 30% that you might usually have had under direct Route 1 football.
Aye, I mean, look, I'd rather go up to Celtic Park and take a 3-0 loss, but having played the way we're playing now, than go to Celtic Park, have 15% possession and lose 1-0 by like a goal at the 85th plus minute. I'd rather just go and get a bash, and I think you're spot on. You look at Motherwell and the way they play, and you even look at the way Falkirk play at points as well. I thought Falkirk, to be honest, got unlucky in the game against us. I thought they could have played a different story, but I think these teams are starting to learn, show no fear against these teams. It's what Hearts have done well all season. Hearts have went out against every team and had that sort of mentality to go forward and attack, and it makes the league a lot more entertaining to watch. It makes these games a lot better as well. How many times have we watched teams roll up to Ibrox and Celtic Park and sit 11 men behind the ball and go direct all the time and lose, and you've seen some horrific scorelines in recent years. It's just good now we're finally getting a league where teams like St Mirren, like Falkirk, like Motherwell, are really just putting their own stamp on the way they want to play, and no changing it to play Celtic and Rangers or Hearts or anybody else. So it's been a really, really good watch.
What's from a Celtic point of view, what's went on this season? Do you think it's because of the manager situation, the board not letting the Greenberg in, the supporters not letting the board because they're not buying anyone? What's went on this season? And by the way, it will be mental if Celtic's going to win the league, because obviously it's a question for you, Robbie, as well. But I mean, because I know you like doing your questions on the show, but I mean, I don't know a team that's won a league under 3 different managers, but what's been on at Celtic this season, Glenn, because it's been mental?
How long's the list? This kid's going all night. I think there's so many different scenarios. I mean, bringing in Wilfred Nancy is an absolute disaster. I said already, I would like to bring him back because Hearts might be more comfortable if he was still there. But there's just been so many different things that have happened at Celtic. You know, the fact they haven't brought in, they've not signed anyone for like any money. It's been all free transfers. The board have taken a lot of stick. Martin O'Neill's come back in twice, although I think he has turned the ship a little bit. And I think obviously the Green Brigade as well, the whole scenario around that, it's just been an absolute disaster for Celtic. But I keep hearing folks say, oh, you know, if Celtic win the title, it's some kind of fairy tale story. It's really not. The team with the biggest budget usually wins the league. Yes, they've had a difficult season. They've had quite a few players out. Alistair Johnson, Jota, Carter Vickers are massive misses. But we can look at players we've had out as well. So can Rangers as well. I think Nadiri's out for the rest of the season as well. It's just been one of these seasons that, this is why I've really enjoyed this season. As much as Hearts are top, it's been really interesting this season because so many folk outside of Scotland are talking about it. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie, it's now getting to that stressful stage. But there's been so many different issues at Celtic. And I think there's not really that kind of... It's kind of almost, you think, at some point Celtic are going to have that kind of thing of, like, everyone's against us, let's get together and let's start, you know, moving forward. That's not really happened at any point during the season. I mean, I think Celtic have lost 8 games this season, which is very unlike Celtic. I think it's the most defeats they've ever had in a season. But they are still winning a chance of winning the title. Now, hopefully that's not going to happen. Hopefully Hearts can win it. But there's been so many different scenarios. And I do think as well, some of the players that Celtic have brought in January have been really poor. I mentioned Adamu earlier. He's been awful. Chance Vara, not really convinced with him. So they have signed a lot of players. Oxlade Chamberlain, I think, has been okay in spells, but he's not really shown what he's capable of. So there's just been so many different things wrong at Celtic. But they were always going to be in this title race. Like, at no point, even when Hearts were reasonably about 9 points clear, at no point did I ever think Celtic get out of this. Because it's Celtic. They know how to win titles. We don't. Rangers haven't really had a lot of experience of that. They were never out of it at any point.
Did you not think Rangers were out of it?
Eh?
Did you not think Rangers were out at any point? I thought when they were 13 points, but I thought they were dead, to be honest with you, by about October.
I've never ever thought that either team's out of it because Hearts being top, I always know what's going to happen. We're going to throw it away at some point. I was never comfortable.
Good evening, Corey. You're watching the show on YouTube. Thanks for watching. And he says he's been stressful since September. I've been stressful since I've been born, but that's a different story for a different show, Robbie, as well. So what's your predictions on this one? I'll go to the man that's not got a horse in the race because Seapag Diglett's a Grand National tomorrow as well. I'm just brilliant at this show, so I should be an actor. Well, okay. Alan, what do you think of the game tomorrow, Celtic and St Mirren? Are you going to say shot Michael? Because I'm going to say shot Michael myself.
I would never say that. Never. No, I think I want more jokes. Keep them coming. No, I think. No, I think it'll become. I think it'll be. If you say uncomfortable, it might be 0-0 for a wee while, but I think the score line will be 2-0 Celtic. That's what I'm anticipating. I think it'll be enough to. I think St Mirren will put up a really good fight, and I think they'll play some good stuff at times. That'll be enough to kind of carry that into the semi-final with a bit of confidence. I just think at Celtic Park, with the Green Brigade back in, Celtic need to win, and I feel like, as much as they've disappointed a lot of the time all season and left it late, it's the kind of game where it might just be a goal before half-time, a goal before full-time. But I do think St Mirren will get plenty of chances, so it'll not be an easy game.
Sorry, Robbie. 2-0 Celtic tomorrow. Graham?
Now, do I be nice to Robbie or do I go what I really think? No, I think Celtic will jump, but it's going to be very difficult. I think St Mirren will make it tough. I'm going to go for Celtic 2, St Mirren 1. I think it'll be very, very tight.
And the only man I've not asked yet because I'm leaving them till last tomorrow. Tonight, Robbie, what about you, Celtic against St Mirren?
I agree with you guys. I think it'll be a really tight game. But I think there'll be goals, so I'm going to go Celtic 2, St Mirren 2.
Oh, ow. And
please let that
be
be parts of one.
Maybe Graham will be doing cartwheels on that away, but and I'll be back from the game. or eating a kebab or whatever he does after the game. Okay, so moving on to the Falkirk Stadium on Sunday. It's Falkirk against Rangers. This is Rangers' first of 2 visits to the Falkirk Stadium before the end of the season. This should be a good game. And am I right, Alan, that the last time Rangers went there, the fans surrounded the team bus because of Russell Martin?
Yeah, he had to get escorted out of the ground by the police at the far away side to the right of the Kevin McAllister stand. It was a bit embarrassing, but I think there's even if we were to win 6-0, I think Rowe's pretty safe from that kind of thing for now. But the thing for Rangers is that even when Rowe was in charge at Ibrox, we drew with them. So Falkirk and the style of play seems to cause them a little bit of bother. Throw in the sort of form we're in at the moment, scoring 3 goals at Motherwell is no easy task. And I just think that there'll be some people saying, "Oh, there's no much to play for. We're too far behind Hibs for 5th place." Or you've got a cup semi-final coming up the following week, so will the rest some players. McGlynn will go all in. He wants to. I think he'll know that there's a chance we can catch Hibs. We've got Hibs at Falkirk in the split, which we didn't expect initially. That got flipped. So if you've got a chance to get 3 points over Hibs at home, the gap I think is 5. You just need to keep bettering Hibs results against every other team, and then there's a chance of 5th place. Which if Celtic were to win the Scottish Cup, that gets us Europe. So we're looking at potential European places. So you're going to get a full strength attacking Falkirk side against a Rangers side who has beat every other team in the league except us. So it's going to be a really entertaining game. Obviously, adding the pressure, adding any Rangers complaints about a plastic pitch, a full Falkirk stadium, you've got a really, really good tie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this game because Falkirk, obviously Rangers will be under pressure because they know what they would need to do, but also Falkirk is some team, and I know that me and you were talking early on about the manager and the player of the year. I think it could be decided between Hearts and Falkirk for the player of the year this season. But what do you think of the game on Sunday?
I'll be going out to buy a Falkirk scarf on Sunday morning before that game starts. Come on, the Falkirk Bairns. I think it's going to be a very difficult game for Rangers. We all know that it's not an easy place to go, Falkirk. They're a very good side, and I think the job McGlynn's done has been incredible. I think Falkirk are playing some really good football. I mentioned Motherwell earlier, but Falkirk plays some really good stuff. They've got some really cracking players as well. I mean, Calvin Miller, I think, has been excellent this season. I mean, for Falkirk to be in that top 6, I don't think many folk expected that start of the season. I don't have Falkirk that high, I'll be honest, but they've been outstanding this season. They've given everyone really difficult games, even against Hearts. They've caused us a lot of problems this season. They're just a very good side, and I think this is a game that Rangers could struggle. I think anyone that goes to Falkirk is going to struggle. But I do want to ask Alan, though, because he'll see more of him than I do. The Barney Stewart story is incredible. Where that lad has come from to where he is now, a lot of folk didn't know who he was. He's been outstanding this season. I think it's, 5 goals in these last 6 games. He's been touted for the Scotland squad. I mean, he has just been incredible, Alan. I don't think anyone could have seen the rise that he's had this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think there'll be an element of surprise some of us. However, when we brought him in, you could see right away his athleticism. So when we first brought him in, you had this raw, gangly teenager, and obviously the scouting department were made aware of him, watched him in games for Heriot Watt, and what you saw was a guy who was well above anybody else around him at that level. So he was scoring goals for fun, but he came in and he got game time, which was the first thing. Scored 2 or 3 goals, I think, in the Championship winning season, and we thought, right, cool, pre-season that'll be him. He'll get off and running, but then he got injured. So with that injury, he came back in. You've got Brian Graham, you've got McKeever. He's not really going to get a game initially, and he also needs to get back up to speed. So we had that really, really good loan spell that was highly criticised at the time to send him down to Dunfermline. And that's really like Neil Lennon put pressure on him immediately, knew exactly what he wanted. And he's just kicked on ever since. So I think for us, he's always had the athleticism. Big, strong guy, really knows how to kind of rustle up centre backs. But what you're seeing is his touch is getting better, his combination play, his decision making, whether to pass, whether to take the shot. That's all improving week on week. And obviously, you see him now on high on confidence. A lot of these goals he's scored are headers, but the one against St Mirren was a cutback from, or a pass through from Dylan Tate after the slack pass, and a shot from just about the edge of the box, I think. A really tidy finish. So he's shown a couple of different types of goals now as well. Trajectory is really, really good. I think this World Cup's come a year too early for him now. But I do think if he keeps on going, there's a chance we'll have to brace ourselves for a couple of big bids this summer. And with a £1.5 million new pitch and training facilities to fund, there's a high likelihood that Barney Stewart will be funding that himself.
This is where I think that, see these friendly games that Scotland had against Japan and Ivory Coast, this is where I said at the time I think we should have experimented and brought guys like Barney Stewart in, because how do you know if they can make it if you don't try them? Now, I think there's a squad of 55 that he can pick. Barney Stewart may be in that. He probably will get cut because we know he's going to pick his favourites. But generally, those were the games for me against Ivory Coast and Japan that I think guys like Barney Stewart, Craig Halkett, and guys like players like Motherwell players as well could have been in that squad. And even if you get beat, you actually go, you know what, fair play to Steve Clarke. He's done something different. He's experimented. That was a big chance for Barney Stewart. I always think you have to pick players that are in form. And there's nobody in better form right now than Barney Stewart. He's scoring goals. Like, that's the hardest thing in football is to score goals. Barney Stewart's doing that.
Yeah, so you're spot on. I think the challenge is I watched the under-21 game against Czech Republic that we drew 0-0, and it's you need service. And I think even if you watched the game and you were critical of Hurst and the chances he got, he was fired them over, etc. What you did see was a lack of service, and that's where the side kind of lacks when Gandoka isn't involved, etc. It's getting that service to the strikers, and if you put Barney in that same game, good form can obviously get on the end of a cross, but if the crosses aren't coming, then there was a period at the end of that Japan game, I think, where we put in a big cluster of like 10 crosses. So there was these are the kind of chances that he'll tend to get on the end of. So if he did get 10 or 15 minutes at the end, there was a good chance he could have scored. But in the under-21 game, there was a cross came in and he headed it and it just went wide. That was the only chance he got of the game. And if that goes in for the under-21s, you're then like, oh, he's scoring every week in the Premiership. He's been putting under-21 squad. He's scoring under-21 squad. You know what I mean? There's the call's even louder. But because he missed that chance, you're kind of thinking, is he quite there yet? But I think the challenge for that is you've got Ross Stewart scoring goals for Southampton in really good form at the moment, scored against Arsenal. Obviously, McBurney's not going to get into the squad, but he's scored quite a few this season. So if the argument's purely on form scoring goals, Ross Stewart's been in the squad before, so he's ahead of Barney. However, age profile wise, he's obviously he's of like late 20s, so he's only going to give you another 3 or 4 years, whereas Barney's just turned 22. So you've got a guy there who could be your striker, or could be your new Lyndon Dykes character for the next 10 years.
Alan, what about yes?
Yeah, sorry,
Mike. No, I was just going to ask Alan. You speak about, obviously, I know Stewart and Calvin Miller seem to always get the praise, but a player I think's played the last couple of games, Ben Broghill. I've not really heard of him before. I think he joined you guys on loan in January. What have you made of him so far? I think he's 8 games, 3 goals so far. He seems a tidy wee player for only 19.
Yeah, aye. So Broghill came from, I think he's from Aston Villa. He was recommended by John McGinn, pretty much recommended him to Stephen, and obviously said that he needed his first loan out from their sort of academy. And he's come in, again, like all first loan spells especially, took a couple of games to get up to speed, but he's just really tricky, direct, can find the strikers with ease almost, but he's also got that confidence to kind of just blast past them and try and score. Obviously got his goal against Motherwell, which was just a really impressive bit of pressing. Again, Motherwell, like the St Mirren goal, almost guilty of trying to build it out and being overcomplicate it a little bit. But the work that he kind of put in to kind of put that extra bit of sprinting and get the ball in the net, his play of the last few weeks has deserved that. And what you're seeing is a guy who's maturing. I think he'll not get into the Villa team. Obviously, he needs another couple of loan spells. But really impressive. You see the kind of we've got Marsh as well from Sheffield United, Calvin Miller, Ethan Ross. We play with wingers at Falkirk, true wingers. You don't try and make shift anybody into positions. We had Alfie Aguiman before, Callum Morrison last season at the start of the year. McGinn wants wingers because he knows that they create chances if they're good enough. And what you're seeing is all the wingers that come in, play their natural positions, get opportunities, get that creative license to kind of take players on and get balls into the box. And all of them are on the end of goals this season, or scoring goals or assisting goals. Brogio's the latest. He's come in, he's getting them. Marsh has scored goals. Obviously, Calvin Miller's having a brilliant season. Should be in the Scotland squad, in my opinion, just for that creative side. And Ethan Ross obviously got the goal, got the cross in for the equaliser against Aberdeen a couple of weeks ago. So all of the wingers at Falkirk, because they're being allowed to play, allowed to create, allowed to be wingers, they're contributing, and that's massive for us.
What are you expecting from Rangers on Sunday?
Oof, that's the question. I think Rangers obviously they conceded a couple of goals against Dundee United, which was comforting for that visit to the Falkirk Stadium, because we'll create chances, and they showed a bit of defensive weakness there. So I think Rangers, you know what it's like though. It depends on the results on Saturday. That'll be the feeling. If anybody drops points on Saturday, I think you'll get an absolute buoyed Rangers coming and playing a good football game, which might leave them more open to us. If everybody wins their games on Saturday, and maybe by a couple of goals, I think you'll have to find. Rangers obviously they have the goal difference ahead. I think of both Celtic and Hearts at the moment, and that could be that's worth a point at the moment. So I think the results on Saturday will dictate it, whether they play a little bit more conservative and just make sure they win the game, or whether they actually have an opportunity to kind of win it and win it well. But I think whatever Rangers try and play against us, it'll be a difficult game, because we're high on confidence. We're playing at home, full house. Maybe 750 Rangers fans, so in a massive minority there. And McGlynn will have clear instructions: go out and press and make sure Dunfermline have got a bit of fear for the cup semi-final.
What about Rangers, Robbie? What are you expecting from them as well? Because I don't think Rangers has played on a Sunday for a wee while, so they're going to play catch up.
Yeah, it's time to see if Rangers can handle the pressure. You know, we've been talking about that the last few weeks on the show. Teams maybe not been able to handle it. It's time to see what Rangers made of it. Mike, I don't know. I don't know how Danny Rose going to approach this game. Of course, I think we're going to use Ryan Naderis out for the rest of the remainder of the season. So, is he going to go back to one up top, play Chimiti up top? I really don't know how Danny Rose thinks he's going to approach this game. But I know it's such an interesting game, because Rangers, like, at this point, teams need a win, and you know, I'm predicting 2 each at Celtic Park, of course, for the glimmer of hope for a St Mirren fan. But you're looking at 3 clubs now, and you really can't afford to take a stumble in this title race. It could be really, really crucial in your season if you do. So honestly, Michael, I don't know how Danny Rowe approaches this game, but I know Rangers, I think both teams will score goals. And I think it's just about who scores more in this game. Rangers are very defensively weak right now, especially when you're looking at the likes of John Souttar, who in the space of 6 months have became a centre-half I wouldn't even want to see in the Scotland team, to be honest. I don't think he's that high on confidence. I don't think he's got the game sense, to be honest, for a centre-half right now. But I think there will be goals. I don't think it will be a defensive classic for either team, to be honest. And that's not even any disrespect to Falkirk, because I think Falkirk, they have some good defensive players. But I can definitely see a few goals in this game. So it'll be a pretty interesting one.
Right, score predictions, guys, on this one. I will go first on this one. I will go just to keep Alan on side because Graham, I don't think Graham kept him on side in terms of he was trying to be nice John McGlynn manager of the year, and I think he custard pied Alan there, so I'll keep Mr. Risk on the good books here. And a point will be okay for you at Falkirk on Sunday. 2 each, Falkirk and Rangers. There you go, Robbie.
I just quickly McGlynn by. I think he should probably be manager of the season for like the last 3 years. I honestly, the work John McGlynn's done at Falkirk's been tremendous. But no, I'm going the same boat as Michael. I'm going a lot of goals. But you know what? I've been changing my mind all week. I've been going back and forth, but I'm going to get to Falkirk. I'm going to go Falkirk 3, Rangers 2.
Oh, there you go. Graham?
Falkirk 2, Rangers 1.
Ooh.
Come on, Falkirk!
Yeah. And Alan, what about you? I take it you'll be going to the Falkirk Stadium on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there. No, I was just laughing. I was thinking there was a report that obviously since this recent success selling at the stadium all the times, obviously securing top 6 cup semi-finals, we've seen more and more people come on like the Falkirk bandwagon, especially this season. And there's a guy in the high street been selling knockoff Falkirk flags and scarves and stuff. And I just thought maybe it looks a bit like Graham.
Yeah.
but
I don't know how to take that now.
But no, I think I mean the thing is we've scored and conceded in each of the last 5 games. So there's going to be both. If you're looking for both teams to score bet, that'll more than likely happen. But I think the desire, the drive, the other strikers coming back into the team, McKeever's fit, Parkinson's fit, they'll both get on the park. Henry Cartlight loves a screamer against Rangers. I think there'll be plenty of goals in it. I think it will be 3-1 Falkirk.
I will say though, as well, I have my laddie has played at the Falkirk Stadium twice already this season, and it's actually a very nice stadium. I've got to be honest, I'm very impressed.
Aye, no, it's good. And so, as I think I've said before, that the idea is that we're looking for financing to try and get the 4th stand built, and that would just complete it. But I think if we're getting the 4th stand, it should be called the John McGlynn stand.
I didn't realise, Robbie, Alan knew Graham's nickname is Del Boy in Falkirk as well.
I'm glad it's not Rodney, that's for sure, or Trigger.
Like, or Cassandra, maybe, I don't know. There you go. So that's.
I would take that. She's not that bad.
Well, okay.
I just don't want to be Uncle Albert. That's fine.
Yeah. Well,
if I can, sorry, Michael, if I can just finally ask Alan before we move on, I can't help but feel you've probably got quite a buzz like me for the semi-finals next week, and obviously I don't want to delve too much into that for next week's show. But how are the ticket sales looking for your game? Because it's a pretty big one. To be fair, I know I'm obviously excited for us, but you're looking at the other game and you just can't wait to watch it.
I mean, I think we're at 9,500 so far. So the goal is to try and get over that 10,000 mark, and then in that little off the field battle, sell more tickets than Dunfermline is the kind of goal. So I think we will take probably looking at the time frame, you're probably talking about 11,000, maybe 12,000, which would be brilliant. So I think there's a massive buzz there. Obviously, the derby is one aspect of it. There's tons of stories and subplots in terms of like Callum Morrison going there, Barney Stewart doing a loan spell there and then coming back to us. We shortened the loan and cancelled the loan and brought him back just when he was scoring loads of goals. So that's a little bit of back and forth there. And then obviously the fact that Dunfermline's form just now, like they're winning every game 3-0 it seems. So they're obviously hitting the ground running. And then obviously we're top 6. So there's loads and loads of really contrasting storylines. I think it should be a really good game. I think a really, really good game. And I think if you're looking, take the rivalry aside, if you get a chance to go to Hampden and play a team in the league below you, you're going to be up for it. There's a massive opportunity there to get to a final, which would just get into the final alone would be incredible. But to get the opportunity to go in to win a trophy, given the journey we've been on, is something special. So no, the buzz around Falkirk is incredible. It must be the same in Paisley.
Aye. I mean, never having gotten to go to Hampden before this season, man, it's one of the once in a lifetime experiences. But to be able to potentially do it 3 times in one season is phenomenal. Even 4, if we can somehow beat Celtic again, it would be fantastic. I'm sure it would bat up a good final as well if Falkirk were to get through against Dunfermline. So
the thing is, if you end up having a Falkirk St Mirren final, I don't think many folk would be able to call it, because obviously we've had a really good result in Paisley. You have had 2 good results at the Falkirk Stadium, and the style of football you're playing now, it'd be quite a good game of football. So we'll just hope that both of us get through.
The Mirren Cup double will get relegated. Robert, you taking that?
I'd snap your horn off for it, to be honest with you, Graham. I don't think I don't think we'll get relegated. I hope not, anyway.
No, I think you'll be safe, mate. I think you'll be safe. I think your manager will be maybe relegated, Stephen Robertson. But let's move on. We'll preview the rest of the games now. Coming up later on, as I said, we've got an interview with the CEO of Ross County, Stephen Ferguson, talking about the game tonight and about the chances of County staying up this season. Of course, they play Queen's Park tonight at 7:15. That's why Reagan only came on for about 5 minutes, and then he went away as well. Alan, we'll no doubt speak to you before next week. Semi-final against the Pars at Hampden. Thanks for coming on, and we'll speak to you soon.
No, pleasure, guys. Another blockbuster weekend of games starting with the night. So, it's going to be brilliant. I'm looking forward to chatting to you soon. Cheers, guys.
There we go. That was Alan. He's away to risk it somewhere. It only be left to me, Graham, and Robbie as the backbone of the Scottish Football Zone team. Don't forget you can like and subscribe to this and go back, because we are getting an interesting chat a couple of weeks ago about the Scotland's first transplant football team. There you go. You can like and subscribe, but like and subscribe. Yeah, that's what you say now. As well, I'm too old for this kind of banter here. And Robbie's pressing all my buttons tonight. I don't know if that sounds right. Anyway, you can like and follow us on TikTok as well, or that or TikTok. There you go. Moving on to Aberdeen against Hibs tomorrow. Graham, before we go on talking about the game, what do you think of Robertson's move to St Mirren? Do you think it was a weird appointment or at the time?
I think, to me, it was very much a panic. I think after they got hammered by Dunfermline, I don't think Robinson was in the frame for that job until they got hammered by Dunfermline. And then the Aberdeen board panicked and thought, we need to do something here. We can see there's trouble. And they went for Stephen Robinson. I think Robinson's a good manager. There's no doubt about that. He's done a great job at St Mirren. But I don't think going to Aberdeen at that point in time was the right moment. I think you should have waited till the summer and then appointed him. I just think they panicked. I just think they thought, we need to do something here. He wasn't their first choice. I can't remember the guy's name, but I think whoever it was that was obviously not got the job, I think he was the favourite. But Robinson, he is a good manager. We know what he's capable of. With that Aberdeen side, whether they can stay up, I don't know. But I just think that the timing for me, I just think they panicked and thought they had to get somebody else in after that Dunfermline defeat, because the way the fans were reacting after that, understandably so, they had to do something.
Yeah, and I'm not going to ask Robbie's opinion on that, because I know how he feels about it, and I think he was part of the fans that were saying you're getting sacked in the morning.
You bet I was one of the fans, Michael. You know it.
Yeah. How did I know? Yeah, I heard your voice on the TV actually.
Did you boo him last, Robbie, when he came to Paisley?
Yeah, but I was getting involved in everything. I was booing, sacked in the morning. Robbo, what's the score? I was singing just about anything.
Shocking behaviour.
aye.
When you've got terrible behaviour.
I said this last week though that I think the media did take it too far. To be honest, at the time it was, it's a bit of light-hearted fun in it. Like, realise like you're not booing them because you left to go to Aberdeen. You're booing them because it's relegation rivals with you. So I hope the Aberdeen fans are enjoying 5-2-3 hoofball every week, because we endured 4 years of that. So I hope they enjoy the rest of the season and then in the Championship, lads. So you'll have good fun.
You're not bitter at all, are you?
No, I'm having listen, I'm enjoying 4-2-3-1 Craig McLeish Tiki Taka ball. I'm loving
it. St Mirren's going to win the Champions League this next season. You've heard it here first. As well, Hibs tomorrow, Graham. Hibs is a bit of a funny team this season again.
Very up and down. Some weeks they look really good, some look poor. I thought it was such a weird game against St Mirren last week because they got the 2 early goals, but after that I thought come on out with the better side. They're just a very difficult side to know what to understand. A difficult side to understand this season, Hibs, but they are having a decent season. I know over the course of the last few months there's been a lot of talk about, should David Gray get sacked? I don't buy into that. The guy did a really good job last season. This season's just been very up and down. We know they're going to lose Martin Boyle end of the season. He's been a fantastic servant for them, no doubt about that. Right now, based on form, I think Hibs will go to Pittodrie and win. I genuinely do. They still got a good chance of European football. I think they probably will get it. I think they might just have more than Motherwell. But I think this is an intriguing game tomorrow, because I look at Aberdeen and I look at the teams at the bottom of the league. St Mirren, Kilmarnock, Livingston are pretty much down. I think Dundee can still get dragged into that. But I look at all those teams and I think the one thing they've got over Aberdeen is they've all got players that can fight and scrap. I don't see that with Aberdeen. They look a very, very poor side. Robinson's got a lot of work to do. I did not expect him to go to Pace and win that last week. I thought St Mirren would win that, but that could have been more than 2. That should have been 4 or 5. They've got a very, very poor side. And for a team that won the Scottish Cup last season, it's crazy to think how bad they've been this season. They sacked Jimmy Tilleen, understandably so, but they just look a very poor side, devoid of ideas. And when they lose the first goal, they just collapse. The game at Ibrox, when they were 2-0 down, you thought this could be 4 or 5. They do get the goal back, but as soon as they lose the third goal, that's it. The heads just go down. And last week, I listened to the commentary last week, and as soon as St Mirren scored the first goal, you just thought, they ain't coming back from this. They are such a poor side. And I genuinely do believe, I think they'll finish in the playoff place. I genuinely do. I think they are terrible.
Robbie, Paul Donaldson's not been commenting for weeks on the show. I wonder why he's not been commenting on the show. But I've always said to you in the last few weeks, maybe in the last few seasons on the show, Aberdeen is a kind of like sleeping giant.
Yeah, they should be doing a lot better than they are right now. And I think everybody knows that, but Graham's right, that they just won a Scottish Cup the matter of 8 months ago. So, they've had a bit of recent success, but I get what you mean. In the league and domestically, it's not been good enough, far from it. And, taking all that funny stuff about Robinson aside, if you actually look at the way Aberdeen played in Paisley, it was a terrible watch for Aberdeen. I know I could battle praise about us for all night, but you look at the way Aberdeen played, it was far too direct. They ran out of ideas as soon as the game kicked off. They go direct once and that's it for the full game. The best spark in both games, I'd say, against us and at Ibrox was probably Olasanya getting on the pitch. And I think a lot of Aberdeen fans were confused with the team sheet as well. Dropping the likes of Olasanya, dropping Lyle Cameron, Stuart Armstrong's on the bench. That's 3 players that I'd probably take at St Mirren, to be honest with you. That's 3 pretty decent players on paper. And he's dropped all 3 of them. I think a lot of Aberdeen fans were confused with the team sheet in Paisley. And obviously Robinson watches the team, he'll know what he wants to play, but it just never really looked like it worked. Then the one good spark in the game, Graham Shinney, they took him off after about 60 minutes. And I know people say maybe Graham Shinney can't do a full 90, but when he's been your best player in the game, you've probably got to keep him on, to be honest. So Robinson's landed himself in a real sticky patch with Aberdeen. He's joined, as Graham said earlier, he's joined at probably the worst time you'd want to make that move, but fair play to him, because you're probably not going to get a move like that again in your managerial career. Stuff like that comes around once every blue moon. So, you've got to take that opportunity while it's there, but he's landed himself in a position now where I agree with Graham. You're looking at Livingston, who, by the way, are down but can show a bit of fight. You've got Kilmarnock and us, and then I'd probably include Dundee in that as well. Every other team bar Aberdeen can show that they can get out of this relegation zone. Aberdeen can right now, and I don't see that continuing against Hibs either. Hibs, as Graham mentioned, they're probably only having I actually think Hibs are having quite a good season, but it's made worse by the fact that Graham's Hearts team are sitting top of the league, so you're instantly looking going, all right, well, why are we no matching that kind of thing? But I don't think David Gray should ever be sacked, to be honest with you. I don't think he's ever done that bad a job, and he'll be looking to go to Pittodrie and try and probably dominate, to be honest, if I'm being honest. I don't think David Gray will settle for a 1-0 up at Pittodrie. I think he'll want his team to go up there and show why they are top six, and I worry for Aberdeen a day, because if they fell into that relegation playoff, I don't know who they beat in that championship. I really don't. The film's already shown them that they can beat them 3-0. In a two-legged playoff when the pressure's really on your back, I don't see them beating any of the championship teams, to be honest.
Graham, I've been saying this for years on the show, and 99.9% of the time I get things completely wrong, but this time I might get something right in my whole 42 years. Dave Cormack, I think, like, if Hibs beat Aberdeen tomorrow, or even get a point, they'll be looking at Stephen Robertson, but also I think they'll be looking at Dave Cormack as well and saying what's been going on for the past 2 or 3 seasons.
The thing is, I think you listen to a lot of Aberdeen fans, and they're not happy with Robinson's appointment. He's only been in the door about 5 minutes, and they're already calling for him to go. I think it's very harsh, because it's a long way to go. He's not at the transfer window. He's come into a squad that's devoid of quality, devoid of ideas, devoid of any fight. I mean, fight's the one thing you should show. Even if you're getting beat, you've got to show something. And I think it was last week, I think, after the game, Robinson was raging. I think he's right to be raging, because that Aberdeen squad just does not look a very good side at all. They let Jimmy Tillene send a lot of players in the summer window and in January, and it's just not worked. But I think the big question mark about Dave Cormack, if Aberdeen lose tomorrow, which I think is very likely, I think there will be a lot of petitions about Dave Cormack. What was it, last year? He was on the radio and he was just about crying. He'll be crying even more now if they get beat tomorrow, because generally they are such a poor side. Like, honestly, if I'm an Aberdeen fan, if I'm Paul Donaldson, I don't know if he's watching this, I'd be very concerned, because they look a team in serious trouble. This reminds me of Hibs in 2014 when Hearts were getting relegated. They got dragged in as well and they went down as well. This is the same thing with Aberdeen. It just takes that one defeat and it's a knock-on effect. If you can't win games, you're going to struggle. And if I'm Hibs tomorrow, I'm looking at this thinking they're vulnerable. They're conceding goals. We've got the pace of Martin Boyle. Suto's been scoring goals. I think the guy Dane Scarlett looks a really good player as well. Middle of the park, they've got a lot of quality in there. I can see Hibs going there, and I think Robbie's right, dominating the game and getting a couple of goals tomorrow. And that Aberdeen crowd, I said it about the Celtic fans. If Aberdeen go down tomorrow, their crowd will turn. And I generally don't see where Aberdeen win a game. I know they've got a few games to come at home, but the pressure's really getting to them. You can see that. They're getting dragged into this. And like I said, you've got teams at the bottom that know how to fight and scrap. I don't see that with that Aberdeen side. I just don't see any fight in it at all.
The one thing you always associate with a Stephen Robinson team in particular, it's at Murnet, Motherwell, even down in England in spells, it's they're hard to beat, they're difficult to break down, they've got defensive stability. That's the very first thing Robinson likes in his team. In the last 3 weeks, I've not seen any of that with Robinson at Aberdeen, and I agree with you, Graham. Saying he should get sacked is just utterly ridiculous, but some Aberdeen fans have never wanted Robinson in the job, even when Aberdeen were playing well and all that sort of stuff, so it's understandable that some fans are never going to be happy. But one thing I would blame him for is his stubbornness to change. It's very much, you watched that game in Paisley last week and it's very much the same that you've watched at us for large parts of his tenure, and of course it worked at us, so I'm not going to sit here and complain about it, but from an Aberdeen point of view, I could see why they'd be frustrated. It's the same direct fit border playing all the time, right at the top of the defence. Gogic is clearing every ball that comes through, and they don't have any second ideas. They don't have anything that they're trying to do, by keeping the ball. I lost count how many times in Paisley Guy Anfield on the left-hand side picked up about 1 million miles of space because Marco Harris, and it's no criticism of Mark, but he's not a wing back and he's getting put into right wing back, and Guy Anfield picks up the ball and has the freedom of Paisley, yet he's always looking to go direct, and it's something that Robinson's built a lot of success on. Of course, I'm not trying to take that away from him. That's his game plan. That's his system. He loves doing that. But at Aberdeen, you really can't afford to be playing like that. And I thought he would switch, to be honest, because I even looked at when he was linked with the Northern Ireland job, and I was like, you can't go into Northern Ireland and play international football and play that way, because you'll get torn apart by teams in international. So to go to Aberdeen, where Michael's rightly pointed out, they're a big team, they should be higher up the league, they should be competing. To go and play that system, you're writing yourself into failure, to be honest, already, and it's not a good look for him. But I do agree, you can't put this blame on him. This has been many years Aberdeen have had this sort of problem.
Okay, your predictions on the game, guys. I've got a funny feeling what you're going to say, but hey ho, I'll ask you anyway. I will kick off, because we're talking about football. I will go 2-0 to Hibs tomorrow, and away win. Robbie?
I can't see anything else but Hibs win. I'm going to go Aberdeen 1, Hibs 4.
Graham?
I really hate going with Hibs, but I have to. I'm saying 3-0 Hibs.
So Aberdeen will win then. So there you go. There we go. Let's move on to Dundee United against Livingston, and I think Livingston got a bit of a boost last week. Boost last week going into tomorrow's game, Graham, by picking up a point against Hearts at Livingston, whereas Dundee United, they're a bit like Hibs because they've been a bit too inconsistent this season.
Do you know what's weird? Of all the teams in the league now this season, United are the only team that's got nothing to play for. They're sitting 7th, not going to get relegated, can't get top 6. They can literally be on holiday. They've nothing to play for. It's such a weird position to be in. I always think it's the worst position to be in when you're sitting 7th with 6 games to go. But again, they've had a really up and down season. I know that United fans are not particular fans of Jim Goodwin, but I think he has done a decent job. I mean, I don't want to go on about it, but that pitch is just horrific. I mean, generally, we talk about plastic pitches, but that Paradise pitch is an absolute joke. How can you have a pitch like that when right across the road, you've got a pitch that looks like a bowling green? It's just mental. But Livingston, I think, have only lost one of the last 6 games. They've had a lot of draws in there. And I thought they were decent against Hearts last week. As much as we had a lot of chances, they actually competed really well. And they've got players that can cause you problems, like Lewis Smith. They've got a lot of good players in their team. So I think they are down. I don't see them staying up. But again, they are fighting and scrapping for every point. And until it's mathematically possible, they've still got a chance. But they are down. But United are just in that position just now where there's nothing really to play for. I mean, generally, what have the fans got to look forward to for the last 6 games? Nothing. Their season's done, and there's 6 games to go.
Robbie, they'll be on the beach.
Aye, certainly. So, I need to apologise because I think I said it to you last time we were on the show, but that's the last 4 times now I've watched Hearts on Sky and Hearts have dropped some sort of point. I've watched them in person. Like, I've got a really bad record for Hearts. So
yeah, we've got 3 more games, guys. So please don't watch any of them.
Yeah. So Robbie's fault, Grim.
No, but you know what? I honestly think that first 10 minutes of Livingston watching them was probably the best Livingston football I've ever watched with Livingston. Like, I've never seen them play better than that. Like, they actually looked like they wanted to keep the ball down and play attacking. And that's something you've got to give Marvin Bartley credit to, because he stepped into a job after getting sacked for a club where, to be honest, when he gets sacked for was at Queen of South, I genuinely didn't think he could make that step up in the Premiership, to be honest. I thought he needed a bit more experience than the sort of lower leagues to sort of build his reputation up a bit. But like, the Livingston have clearly put trust in him. Well, David Martindale's put trust in him to step into that position, and he's really impressed, to be honest. You look at the form since he took over, Livingston are probably fighting to stay up at this point if he's in there for the start of the season. So he's instilled a bit of mentality, a bit of fight into the Livingston players, and look, he can take that into the Championship. I think it would be very harsh to sack him, don't keep him as manager in the Championship. I think it would be incredibly harsh, actually. So I hope he gets that chance, because I think he could build something decent at Livingston. But you're right, Dundee United are in flight mode now. probably preparing for next season under Jim. And to be honest, I think Jim's done a decent job with Dundee United his whole tenure. Of course, the board have spent a lot of money on him. They've gave him that sort of freedom to go and sign who he likes, and he's put it to decent use. There's some really good players in there. I keep banging on about Lucas Stevenson. I think he's a fantastic football player. Really, really good potential for the future. Of course, Zach Sapsford's been a really, really good player this season. So they've got players in there that I like. And I agree, you're right. That's the worst position to be in, where you're sitting seventh. Probably not going to go. Well, you can't go up. You're not going to go down. So you're really just playing out to try and make other teams' lives misery. To be honest with you, but. For all that, we have the running joke, Mike, on the show that me and Jim Goodwin were no pals and all that. I do think he's a good manager. He's done well with Dundee United, and he probably deserves his plaudits more than the fans will give him. But Jim Goodwin's like Stephen Robinson. Some fans will just never take to him, and that's just the way it is with some managers in this league, unfortunately. So I think he goes right under the radar, to be honest.
Your predictions on this game, guys. I think I'm going for an away win tomorrow. I'm going for 1-0 to Livingston.
I don't know. After the last 2 weeks, Dundee United have been playing some decent stuff when they don't really have to be honest. But no, I'll go the opposite, Mike. I'll go Dundee United 2, Livingston 1.
Mr. Graham.
Dundee United 0, Livingston 0. Worst game of football ever on a beach, which that pitch pretty much is anyway. Bring your buckets and spades. It'll be a terrible game of football. Yeah, 0-0.
Yeah, and it'll be about 5 weeks from now when we see the highlights. Okay, let's move on.
Psychology. Hoping it's going to be a really poor game. It'll be a really good game.
Yeah. So will Robbie saying that about Hearts as well. But well, there you go. Robbie can't watch the game tomorrow because it's not on TV, so you might have a chance of winning, Graham. Let's move on to the Neil McCann derby then. Kilmarnock against Dundee tomorrow on another terrible surface, Graham. But there you go. I don't know. I don't really know what to think of this game apart from an away win from Dundee.
I think Kilovic looked all right under McCann, and I generally wasn't thinking he'd be a decent manager. As I said earlier about them going 2-0 down early on last week, they actually did play some decent football. I think McCann's got them to play some decent stuff. I think they're certainly at home as well. They beat Hearts and deservedly so as well. I can't deny that. They are a decent watch under him. And in Finlay Curtis, they've got such a good footballer as well. A guy that actually wants to get the ball, take people on. He's a proper old school winger, which I quite like. I think they'll cause Dundee problems. And I do think Dundee, again, as much as I've slated Stephen Prez over the few months, he's done a really good job. I thought they were decent second half against Celtic last week. I think this could be a decent game. I genuinely think this could go either way. And Dundee are still in there. They could get dragged into a relegation battle, so they're not quite safe yet. But I have a funny feeling that on that pitch, which we know gets talked about a lot, I have a feeling that Kilmarnock might actually edge this.
Robbie?
Yeah, Michael, you're right. I don't really know how to sum this game up. But, both clubs have had a bit of a roller coaster run of form, haven't they? Like Dundee didn't really look too impressive against Celtic, to be honest. But the last time Celtic went out of Dens Park, we know what happened under Presley. It's been such a weird season for both. I think in a good way for Dundee. I think they've over-impressed. The clubs I had in the boat were Falkirk and Dundee, and they've both overshot the mark. So, they've both had good seasons. Kilmarnock, Neil McCann's had such a weird run of form since he joined the club. He's took some batterings off of teams, but he's also picked up some good results. So it's just one of them. And you're looking at the relegation battle now, and you can't really see a way in which Kilmarnock finish 11th right now. But I'd say the same about St Mirren, and I'd say the same about Dundee. I can't see a way in which these clubs are finishing in 11th. It really only leaves Aberdeen, which we've already spoke about. But I do think Neil McCann was a good appointment for Kilmarnock, and I think, as Graham mentioned, Finlay Curtis, what a player. Just an absolute pleasure to watch at times. One of these wingers that I remember coming on the show a few weeks ago and banging on about wingers don't take players on anymore, and they have the feed and they'll always, try and track back. But Finlay Curtis has got no fear when it comes to doing that sort of stuff. He's on the ball movement's fantastic, and I think Rangers will have a real quality player on the hands, to be honest, when he ends up going back there. But you think now Kilmarnock can build. I think I'm more leaning towards a Kilmarnock win, to be honest. But you're looking now going forward into next season. They've got a good manager that knows how to pick up results, gets a good summer under his belt, and I think Kilmarnock could probably start pushing back up the league, because you're now looking at next season, and not to get too carried away, we've still got a few games left in this season, but you're looking at the next season now. So many clubs are going to be right up there now. So many clubs are going to be challenging. We've got a really good few years in Scottish football now coming up.
Just a quick one, Graham. Right? Were you surprised that Rangers found the Cutters goal?
Yeah, a little bit, but obviously wasn't going to get game time with the players that obviously Rangers had. And I do actually think Mikey Moore's coming into his really good form in the last few months, and Rangers don't tend to play with two proper wide players. But I think, Rangers' loss has been Kilmarnock's game, because I think he's been outstanding. When I watched him against Hearts, he was unplayable. It's just that having that winger that wants to get the ball and his first thought is taking people on. He's quick. He's got a trick in him. He's a really, really good player. He's added goals to his game as well. So I think, ideally for Kilmarnock, they'd be able to keep hold of him. But it depends what Rangers want to do in the summer. If they want to try and bring him back, or if they're going to let him go on loan. But I generally think every time I've seen Finlay Curtis so far this season, he's been very impressive.
Right, okay. I thought you were going to add something else and my microphone was off. But there you go. Okay, score predictions, guys, in this one, Graham.
2-1 Kelly.
2-1 Kelly and Robbie.
Yeah, I was going to go 2-1, but I'll go 1-0 Kilmarnock.
1-0 Kilmarnock. I'll go for a 1-0 win for Dundee tomorrow as well. Okay, that is the roundup for the Premiership. Let's jump into the Championship then, shall we? Yes, we will. Before we go away, big game tonight, Queen's Park against Ross County. Big game for, well, I would say both of the legs, but more importantly, Ross County as well. I think they've got 4 games left before the end of the season as well. We'll talk about more, Scott. We'll talk about all the games in a wee minute or two. But yesterday, I had some time with the CEO of Ross County, Stephen Ferguson, and he was talking about the game and the season so far and under Stuart Kettlewell. So, Stephen, you're talking to us ahead of tonight's game between Ross County coming down to Glasgow to face Queen's Park in the Friday night football. First off, before we get into talking about the season so far, what do you think of tonight's game? Another difficult game.
Yeah, listen, everybody knows the Championship and how difficult every game is. So certainly going down to Queen's Park and the Friday night game live on the BBC is going to be tough for sure. Queen's Park have put together a decent run of results, certainly since the turn of the year, and they'll be confident and they'll be looking for a result as well. So again, we can only look at ourselves. We can only control what we can control. So our performance will be the thing that we'll be focusing on.
And how is the mood in the camp going into the game?
Yeah, listen, we've got a group of professionals that have been hugely disappointed with me last week. And like any professional footballer will tell you, the best way to get to lift that cloud is by playing another game. So we've managed to get the game a day early. It would be in the Friday night game. So obviously the manager and the staff will have debriefed our performance on last Saturday. They would have discussed where we felt we went wrong, what we need to do better. And like every single week, then it's up to the group of players that are selected to play on Friday night in the squad to then go and implement some of the change and see if we can get a much more positive result than we got last week.
Now, I know you might hate me for saying this, but because obviously Ross Kent is at the bottom of the league, 27 goals so far. You county scored this season. It's really a difficult season for Ross County.
Listen, absolutely. It's been an extremely difficult season for Ross County. It's been an extremely difficult season for our supporters as well. And you're right, you've highlighted, I suppose, a lack of goals from us this year. And we need to, as a group, we need to take responsibility for that. And I'm not just meaning strikers scoring goals. You know, we have ample opportunities with set plays and long throw-ins and balls in the box for any member of the playing staff to score a goal. So I think we need to look at it as a collective thing. And are we creating enough chances? That would be a question I would ask as well. Where, you know, if we're not scoring enough goals, then we need to look to create more chances to give us that opportunity to convert more than we're converting at the moment. But no, that would be fair that that stat would tell you that we haven't scored enough goals, and that's why we find ourselves in the position that we're in.
Why is that, Stuart? Is it just because obviously you're going down to the championship in your first season? Obviously, we kind of know how difficult the championship is as well.
Listen, we know how difficult the championship is. We were under no illusions when we dropped out the Premier League last year how difficult it was going to be. And if we could put our finger on it, we would have put our finger on it a long time ago. We're still battling with ourselves and with each other to try and find a solution for why we're getting the outcome that we're getting at the moment. Scoring goals is just a small part of a number of things that we're not doing well enough. And again, I'm no one to point any individual fingers at anybody. We need to look at that as a group, and we need to look to see if we can start addressing it. I mean, let's not make anything up here. We're running out of time. We've got 4 games to go. We're sitting bottom of the league, and sometimes tomorrow never comes. So we need to look at Friday as our next game, and the very next game that we can look to add some points and some goals to a disappointing tally this season.
In that case of the fans and the players and everyone at Ross County kind of like pulling together towards the last 4 games of the season?
Of course it is. I could chuck out loads of cliche leadership quotes to you there, and I think sometimes you need to just strip it back. You know, there's 11 men playing against 11 men on Friday night, and if we win more individual battles than Queen's Park win, then we've got a better chance of winning the game, and I think that needs to be our focus. And again, we can ask our support to get behind us and you know, and try and drive us to better. But ultimately, we need to give our supporters something to cheer about and something to get excited about. So we've all got a responsibility for how we perform on a match day, and we need to make sure that we're hungry at the very, very least, that we're hungry to go and do well, and we're hungry to win, first of all, the individual battles, and then that will give us a better chance of winning as a collective.
Finally, Stephen, I know it's been in the past, but you played Queen's Park. I think it was back in December. The game got called off 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes before the kickoff. How disappointing were you as a club, and for also the county fans could come down at that time of year on a Friday night to Glasgow, and for the game to get called off, as I said, with 10, 15 minutes to go?
Yeah, it was unusual circumstances on that occasion, but things do happen, Michael. You know, that sometimes, you know, things do happen, and you just need to obviously play with the card that you're dealt on that occasion. The big thing was the disappointment for our supporters that did travel down. It's not like you're just nipping along the M8 in the Central Belt. You're coming from the Highlands of Scotland, and you're coming down to the Central Belt. So the onus and the challenge was definitely on our travelling supporters. But again, things happen in football. There was explanations given why the situation panned out the way it did. And listen, we've accepted that, and we've moved on from that, and hopefully it doesn't happen on Friday night.
There we go. That was Stephen Ferguson, not Stuart Kettlewell, as I said in the middle of that interview, Graham. But I can get out that one and say that they were joint managers at County when they were on the Premiership. Hopefully that works for you, Graham, because it doesn't work for Robbie. Robbie's not wearing that one, but Yeah, what do you make of County so far this season, Grim?
I think, see, when you look at stories so far this season, obviously Hearts, Motherwell, Falkirk, and all that kind of stuff, I think one of the biggest ones is the downfall of Ross County. I can't believe how bad they've been. I mean, I didn't have them winning the league. I thought they'd be certainly up there challenging at the top four, certainly. But to be bottom of the league is nowhere near what I thought they would be. And again, they look a very poor side. You mentioned there about the amount of goals they've scored this season, which is crazy for a team like Ross County. And to get hammered at home 4-0 by Airdrie, who are a decent side, but your closest relegation rivals, and you get absolutely battered like that. And with only 4 games to go, I think they're down. I mean, I genuinely never thought I'd be saying that about Ross County. To go from the Premier League to League One in such a short space of time, it's just incredible. You know, Stuart Kettlewell going back there, and he's not really had the homecoming he would have hoped for. They just look a very poor side. I talked about it earlier, where like St Mirren and Motherwell, St Mirren and Kilmarnock and Aberdeen, and the fight. I think Ross County have lost all their fight. They just look a very poor side, and I would not be surprised if they lose to Queen's Park tonight.
Robin,
Yeah.
do you think the Spygers will beat them?
I think so, Michael, and you've got to give huge amounts of credit to Stephen Ferguson for coming on, by the way, because this is probably one of the roughest times in the club's history. You know, we're just over 10 years and I think a month since Ross County lifted the Scottish League Cup, obviously defeating Hibs 2-1. To go for that, to then, you know, getting relegated for the Premiership, and you're right, fair enough, they'll probably bounce back. We all predicted Ross County to be battling St Johnstone at the start of this season. To be where they are right now is, I can only imagine how the Ross County fans are feeling. Never mind Stephen himself. You know, it must be an absolute brutal time for the clubs. When you mentioned that fact, Michael, that was mind blowing, to be honest with you. So low in the goal tally, and you know, I get the feeling there's a bit of disconnect going on at Ross County, in my opinion, and I think Kettlewell was coming on a bit too harsh. I genuinely think if you're coming out of the press after what Kettlewell described as the club's worst result in the history, you're the guy that just managed it. You know, you just managed the worst result in Ross County's history, being the guy that was meant to come back and try and save the club. But I think Kettlewell's got to take a bit of stick for that, to be honest with you. He was brought in to try and turn this around, and he's not done it. I don't know where Kettlewell goes for here himself, to be honest with you. If they end up going down, I agree with Graham. I think Ross County probably are going to go down at this rate. I can't see a world in which to escape now. But questions have got to be asked about him and if he's going to take them forward. I don't imagine he is, to be honest. I think he should be sacked after saying something like that, in my opinion. I think that's totally the wrong thing to say. As a manager, you know, you've just lost 4-0 at home, 3-0 down in 40 minutes, I think Ross County were. And then you're coming out after the game and saying that. I mean, you know, you're trying to get your players out of this mess. No, keep them in it. It's just the wrong way you go about it, in my opinion. But again, credit to Stephen for coming on, because that couldn't have been easy. And I'd only imagine how everybody at Ross County is feeling right now.
Yeah, Graham, fair play for him to come on, because I emailed him on Monday night, I think it was, after the weekend's defeat, and you know, I could only go one or two ways, and they said, nope, let's do it. Let's speak about the game.
Yeah, I think massive respect, because a lot of folk in that position might have said, nah, I'm not doing any radio stuff, I'm not doing any podcast, I just want to bury my head in the sand. But you know, he's fronted up, and fair play to him. And I think it must be such a difficult thing for Ross County now, because you're not expecting this. As I say, start of the season, I don't think they'd win the league, but I thought they'd be up there challenging. But to be bottom of the league, I mean, I genuinely can't believe how bad they've been this season. And I think Robbie's right. You know, the comments by Stuart Kettlewell, that for me is the kind of thing you keep indoors. You say it behind closed doors. You don't say it in public. Whether it's this thing to say to the fans, look, that wasn't good enough, and to get the fans saying, fair enough, he's admitted that wasn't good enough. But I think that's something you say in the conference of the dressing room. You don't say that in public, because then that just says to Ross County players, and Robbie's right, you know, you managed that. You were in charge of that. And you've just said that's one performance this season. I
wonder if they know Derek Adams.
They're quite good pals.
Maybe Stuart Kettlewell end up at Morecambe's.
maybe I should ask him on the show. Okay, looking at the rest of the games, obviously that's a quarter kickoff. That's why Reagan ran away after about 5 minutes on the show. Even though he said, I'm here for 20 minutes, guys, and then 5 minutes later he went away. Maybe it's the first time we played in front of a full house. I don't know. The rest of the games tomorrow: Ayr against Arbroath, Parket Thistle, Glenfermon, Brave Roberts, Morton, and St Johnson. Airdrie, guys, what's your pick of the weekend on the championship?
They're all good. Wait, what'd you say there, Graham?
Partick, Dunfermline, without a doubt.
Yep.
They're all good games, but I like the look at all of them. I mean, I'm interested to see how Ayr United go on against Arbroath. I mean, they've been in freefall the last few weeks since losing Scott Brown. I know they obviously picked up a point, I think, against Thistle, but they've not looked impressive. I've seen a few snippets of their game against Dunfermline and they didn't really get up to much, to be honest with you. But I mean, you're obviously looking at the night, you're thinking, well, if Queen's Park beat Ross County, then they're more than definitely done at this point. I don't think there'll be any coming back for that, to be honest. So it's a big night, Mike, on the championship. I mean, the big weekend. I think every weekend in the championship now is massive. There's still teams that can turn. There's twists that can happen. We're still looking at the title fight. Is there right and left for Partick Thistle? I don't think so. I think St John's will probably just nick it now. But again, we say it every week. It's an entertaining league. But I will just say quickly by way my prediction for Hearts Motherwell's 3-2 Hearts. I wasn't obviously on the show, so I didn't obviously get to give my prediction at that point. But I'll give a 1 to Hearts. But no, as it's I can see goals because both teams I think look alright. But no, as it's a pretty. I mean, every weekend's a big weekend, guys, in the championship. So I'm looking forward to the night, especially.
Yeah, no, I'll go with Graham. The game of the weekend is at Firhill, and I believe Reagan is going to Firhill tomorrow as well. He's just jumping all over the Glasgow teams.
Well, he has to go and see my Partick and my Queen's Park, doesn't he?
Yeah, I wonder when they'll go to Ibrox. I'm waiting to see that one as well. I could just imagine Reagan watching it and cussingly swearing under his breath as well. But you can't swear because Queen's Park, that's a very well-to-do area in Glasgow. I should know because I don't know why. So that is the games of the weekend, and we'll be back on Sunday at 2:30 to chew the fat, as it were, over the rest of the games of the weekend, including that game at Falkirk between the Bairns and the Gers, Falkirk and Rangers on Sunday, and then we'll look back in the games on Saturday as well. Thanks to Graham, thanks to Robbie, thanks to Aaron, and thanks to Reagan as well for being here for about 5 seconds before he went away. I'm going to remind him that actually a few times before the end of the season. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on Sunday. Remember to like and subscribe to the Scottish Football Zone, and we'll be back on Sunday.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.